Hello everybody, and this is another little episode. Frank Prent, the little cool kid, trying to be cooler than his bullies. Frank lived with his parents in the Canberra suburb of Page, near Belconnen. And he is a kid, he was noticed as the cool kid, and kids quite often said he was cool. At first Frank didn't know what they were saying, but he eventually realized that they thought he was better than anyone else. Frank went off showing off his muscly legs to all the girls in Canberra, girls who wouldn't have touched him with anywhere else. But Frank tried to make sure that everybody had no knowledge of that. But his brother Thomas tried to tell everybody, but he had to make sure that Frank caved in to being sort of a stuck-up brat. And Frank, you ain't getting me, mate. They like me. They want me to be with them. That's what they said. You're your own friend's loser. And Thomas said, I am not a loser. I want to show everybody the kind of square you were in other lives. And his parents said, let Frank enjoy himself. Your own friend's loser with his new friends and still have your friends, so give him a break, because really you are just a teaser, mate, and they never win the war. So little baby Frankie have his baby's bottle, and everybody thinks he's a big loser. Really, he'll never be as cool as you, Thomas, so just enjoy being the uncool one for a while. You see, Frank went to all the footy matches, Raiders and Brumbies and Sydney Swans and Richmond and Carlton, with his mate Don Cooper. And on days where all his teams won, the bus would have all the songs of every Raiders team or every Brumbies team or every Sydney Swans team from other places. And at New Year's Eve parties at home and down the club, and you could say that Don was very embarrassed for Frank to have as a friend. And after they both finished school together, they took up playing basketball, and then they played football, and then they played cricket and baseball down at the gymnasium, whether it was indoors or outdoors. And you know, Frank and Don were put on different teams. Mainly because Frank, the whole way home, and if they lose, which at the start was mostly, every player on the bus was quiet, while the supporters, if the team, were very loud. Don Cooper wasn't the easiest friend for Frank, mainly because he used to fight the opposition players' supporters because they disturbed his resting on the bus, while they teased Don, just sat there saying, Don, give up, you're a loser. Mind you, the bullies never heard Frank say that, but if they did, Frank would have been friends with them before he left school. Before they thought that Frank was a cool dude. The way he laughed at his mates like that, and yes, they got home, they would be this phone call 15 minutes after they both had dinner, and Don ringing up Frank to abuse him and to have a bit of a fun time laughing with him, because he laughed at Frank when he said, mate, I laughed because you acted like a loser. Well, all through school, Don acted like a dickhead and made Frank think like that. Like Raiders, the Brumbies, the Swans, the GWS, the Maggies, each were too fit for Don. And since he realised that, Frank said to Don, hey Don, I am fitter than you, and Don said, I am fitter because I woke up on the right side of the bed this morning and I got up ready to have parties all over town. And all you do is just sit there with your family and squirm like a little baby. And Frank said, it doesn't happen really. Frank, Don was finally sick of Frank saying that, so he tried his best to turn everybody off him. But then Robert glenned, but still they teased him too. And he left there and went to a team rebuilding course, which he called Try, which meant training recreation for the young. And Frank was hopeless at everything there. And there, about 4 days of going there, talking to nerdy friends about being teased because he knows nothing about playing these types of sports, Frank left and said he will never because the world is, well, that is his own home. And he is treated like a person. Yes, he is looking back at them and saying, what a pack of losers. Fucking to get him. So he decided to take Robert Glenn's advice and went into the streets of Canberra and played cool for all the party goers. Well, actually, he partied with all the party goers, if you really want to say. Did a bit of volunteer work, but he wanted to keep away from all them losers of the past because he has found his own mojo, and that was playing cool for yeah people. And eventually, he got a real job and befriended Frank, and they spoke behind Don's back, laughing as well. That was very fun. So, in fact, any time but Robert was showing signs of uncool. Frank, you're not cool either. And after 2 years, Frank left them to move on. But everyone started to tease Frank since then. You see, he joined this crappy car detailing course at TAFE, which was so fucking crap. Getting called teased with the little wussy and all that. And then he was having a few problems. Like he was also having someone sort of shove him in the boot of a car and they locked the boot on him. Actually, they left him there overnight one night, if I remember. And he said, you ain't scaring me. I am like Robert. And Frank is the only one from his school and Try and TAFE. And now Frank is sort of moving on to be the best, to do the best thing in the best of his ability. Catch you later, dudes.